I actually turns out that I had high blood pressure because of the amount of stress. So the way that I was able to find that out is that my right eye started to get blurry. So I was like, well, maybe I just need new glasses or new contacts. So I went there, failed the vision test, went to a retina specialist. They took photos of my retina and noticed little white dots. And they're like, hey, are you diabetic? And I was like, no, not that I know of. So then they were like, well, can we test your blood pressure? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. They did it twice and they were both very scared. So we're like, okay, at this point, we're going to need you to go to the emergency room. And I was like, it can't be that bad. They're like, we need you to go. We're like, all right. So I drove myself to Twins. I told them what happened, gave them the paperwork. And they're like, okay, well, let's test out your blood pressure. My blood pressure was sitting at 200. Yeah, 200. So at that point, the doctors and the nurses that were in there, they were like, not to scare you or anything, but how are you still alive? How did you not get a stroke? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel great. Like, I wake up, in the morning, drink my coffee, and then off I go to work. And they're like, how the fuck? Okay. So they put 3 IVs in my arms and then slowly started to pump medicine to lower my blood pressure. So, of course, my dumbass was like, cool, I get to go back to work, right? And they're like, no, dude, we're keeping you overnight. Like, you're to the point where you're going to die. So I was like, all right. So I was in there for 2 weeks.
Wait, in the hospital?
Because of how bad it was. Yeah.
Did that cost you a fuck ton of money?
Yep. Which I'm still dealing with right now.
No.
So I guess because of the high blood pressure, I damaged both my kidneys. So both my kidneys are shot. I have to do a kidney transplant for one of them. And then I have to prepare myself for dialysis by the end of this year. So it's just been like one thing after another. So if it wasn't for my eye being blurry, I honestly, for being truthful, I probably would not be here today. Dang. That's how bad it got. So at that point, I was like, me being in the hospital for 2 weeks, I just told my boss, I'm like, I can't be here. Like, if I come back to these work conditions, I guarantee you back in the hospital again. And if we are talking about bills, my hospital bill is $172,000.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
How are you like?
I can't. I had to pull from savings and had to put at least 20 to 30 grand down just so I don't like hit collections. So right now, if we're financially talking, so right now I am struggling just because I had so much going on. And of course, it just kind of threw me off guard. But it was funny though, because as soon as I came back to work 2 days after the hospital, the hospital called me and they're like, hey, we want to know if you can pay your bill. Do you want to do cash or card? I'm like, first of all, how much is it? And tells me the amount. And I'm like, no.
Dude, the amount they told you probably almost made you go back.
Right? I was like, y'all bitches are tripping. And then the lady was like, well, you can start it with 1,000. And I was like, let me call you back. And she's like, yeah, no worries. Never did. Until this day, they kept calling me and they're like, hey, we want to know if you can pay your bill. I was like, he died, and hung up.
Are you serious?
No, I didn't say that, but
okay.
I'd be laughing if I did. They're like, just send it to collections. But then eventually I had to like pull all the savings that I got, pay the amount. And then right now I'm just working for a dispensary called Colic Wellness, which they've been super chill since day one. Told them all the situations that have been going on, and they're like, dude, if you need anything, let us know. Like, we're here to help in any way. And they've been super chill about working with my schedule and trying to help me with that, because I do have monthly meetings with the doctors now, and that's just taking like so much of my time, and it's annoying.
There's no way in hell they needed $172,000 from you.
I saw the bill.
Stay. There's no way.
I asked them to itemize it because, like, I really want to know what I'm being charged for. So
it's just space, time,
basically. But because it was a mixture of that, the fucking rooms, the bed, and then at one point I had to transfer from one hospital to another because they had to do an MRI. For me, and so of course me going in an ambulance, there was another charge right there.
Do you know how much it was?
I think the ambulance was between 80 to 90 alone.
Grand?
Yeah. I wish it was dollars. I would have been excited.
To go from one hospital to the other.
Yeah, from Twin Cities to French.
That's fucking.
So I will bring the fucking bill.
That makes 0 sense. That's honestly, oh my gosh, dude.
It was pretty bad. Oh God. And Some of the equipment that they had, because I had to do 2 MRI tests. I had to do I had to do 3 kidney biopsies. Because the first one that they did, apparently they went too far into the tissue and it didn't work out. The second time around, my blood pressure like skyrocketed. So the doctor's like, I can't force the needle because if I do, you're going to bleed out. The third time around, what I had to do was I had to actually like put myself in a position where I was super tired. So by the time they did the kidney biopsy for the third time, I would just pass out on the table. And then they would do it for us.
That's fucking...
So yeah, I guess it's been a lot. And not many people know about this. Just because like I usually, with health and shit like that, I want to keep it personal.
Yeah.
But I did publicly post about it not too long ago because I actually went MIA on social media for about 3 to 4 months just because I needed a break. And with everything going on, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on this and not be on social media. So when I came back to social media, I just posted everything that was going on. And people were freaking out. They're like, dude, we haven't heard from you. What's going on? This and that. And finally, I was like, all right, well, here's what's going on. And posted everything.
Damn, dude, that's... So many issues arise right there for me. Like 2 weeks in the hospital, all the shit with your kidney. I feel like that bill alone should be no more than like 10 grams.
Right.
Like 2 weeks in the hospital, they're doing a fuck ton of shit with their kidneys, like cutting you up and putting you under. Like reasonably, that should be like a few thousand.
Right.
Like no more than like 10K or some shit. Like when you give somebody... And I'm assuming you're not rich, but I'm assuming, like, if you give somebody, like you or me, a bill and say you have to pay $72,000 fucking dollars, how are we ever going to get ahead?
Right.
Like, all we do, dude, rents, food to live, and the fucking hospital bill that's fucking you sideways. That's crazy. That's honestly insane. That makes zero sense.
Right.
Nothing could have cost that much.
Yeah.
Nothing could have cost that much. There's no way. A $90,000 fucking ambulance ride? That's berserk.
Like I said, it was pretty intense because when I got the letter, it wasn't like a thin little piece of letter. It was a fat envelope. And I was like, all right, here we go. I opened it up. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, that's dumb.
So until this day, they're still trying to ask for payment. And I'm just like, bro, like, y'all need to chill for a bit. I'll pay you in 20 years. Just give me a couple years. And I like joked with them. I was like, hey, can I put this on layaway? The lady's like, the fuck is that? I'm like, never mind. I was trying to be all funny for a second. And she's like, no.
Yeah. What? So when did this happen to you?
November.
Oh shit. So
Recent.
This was like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This happened in November. And then...
No.
Yeah.
And you're not done with the bills yet because you said you have to get ready for dialysis.
That's the problem, is that it's still piling up because right now I'm still dealing with that. But because of the kidney, I then sent all my information to Stanford, which the next step is to go to Stanford to start the kidney transplant. So I don't know how much it's going to go for. And then, of course, I have to prepare for dialysis for the end of this year if my kidneys don't do better. So when I first started with the doctor, my kidneys were sitting at 20%. And then every month since then, I am now down to 14% functioning. So the doctor's like, well, if it keeps decreasing, then obviously I have no choice but to put you in dialysis. The good thing is that the last 2 months when I visited the doctor, it was steady at 14%. So he's like, okay, well, something's working. So it's been helping out a lot. They put me on what is called a renal diet. So I cannot consume any sodium or potassium, and I can only have a little bit of sugar. I can only drink water or anything that has less sodium or potassium. And then, of course, have small 3 meals a day so I don't work the kidney. So, of course, the first couple of days into that new diet, you best believe I broke down.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is like a whole different ball game for me. So, of course, I had to like get used to it and whatnot. So, it's been a struggle, and it's been a roller coaster ride since then. But
yeah. Or do you feel okay right now? Like, are you in pain?
That's the thing. I'm not. And even if I am, I feel like, okay, it's just a small little hiccup. Like, I'll be fine. And that's the thing. Like, I have to like remind myself. Like, I've seen people go through a lot worse. So me bitching about this, like, no, like you can do good. Like, just keep pushing and see what happens.
Have you paid any of the hospital bill yet?
Yeah, 25 to 30 grand so far.
But you're not even done.
No, not close.
Oh my God.
So that's only like the first half. So I know once I start the rest of the treatment, I know that's gonna come back to more. But right now, I am under Cobra, so I'm trying to see how much they can help me before, obviously, taking any more hospital visits.
What's Cobra?
Cobra is kind of like an extension of the previous insurance that I had with the company. So after I quit, I then had the ability to go under Cobra. And the good thing is, like I did mention, with the dispensary, the HR that they have there, she went out of her way and started like going after the company, like, hey, he needs Cobra. You guys never assigned him anything like this. And she was just going back and forth. So with her help, I was able to then extend my insurance and not pay a dime. So I think for the next 6 months to a year, I'm fully covered. So technically I now have free insurance because of Cobra. And that's one thing that they kind of came out with during COVID. So I kind of got lucky in a way. So I'm just trying to see how this will be beneficial.
So did you just not have insurance when you went to the ER for 2 weeks?
I did, but it wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could have even been more.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, the thing is, Kim Kardashian makes that much money in a day.
Probably.
Like, she could pay your shit for you.
Right? Seriously.
Like that. She could pay your shit for you and not even break a sweat. Honestly. You should, dude, if you meld, like, you should send letters to, like, the president or, like, Kim or something.
Right.
I bet you, dude, if you told someone your story, you might get help.
Just pull a freaking white chicks. Dear America, I am a white woman.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of other people, though, with your same story, though.
Yeah.
Like, randomly had to go to the hospital, couldn't leave for 2 weeks, and now you're fucking screwed. Are you worried at all?
With?
Like, are you like right now, if I knew I was in debt that much money, I would honestly maybe be thinking of, like, moving away somewhere far, far away.
That's the funny thing is that I do think about that every day, but I feel like just with me slowly moving forward here and there, obviously I'm going to hit obstacles, but I never like to think anything negative just because I know once I do, then I'm just stuck there. So I was like, okay, let's find a way where I can overcome this and then hit the next project. Obviously, I'm going to get tired doing so and stress myself out. But I know that if I slowly move through each topic, I can easily then be able to overcome every single obstacle. Because I know before, once I was like stuck, I'm like, fuck, I give up.
Yeah.
So I had to change the mentality. I was like, okay, keep pushing forward. And so I did.
What was the job you were doing that was that stressful?
I was a manager.
Okay.
And so being a manager, it was just a lot. And they were just asking for a lot. And it wasn't worth it at all.
Why were you stressed out from it?
Just because of the tasks I needed. So not only did I need to be a manager, I also needed to sell. I needed to make sure that my store was up to par. My employees were hitting their goals for every possible thing that we had so they can get their commission. Escalations, if I had to deal with customer escalations, I had a bunch of meetings left and right. I had to do store visits in some rare cases, to do meetings in other locations. I then had to do obviously operations on top of that. So it was just like one thing after another. And it was to the point where you were done with one task and then 20 more tasks will come in. You were then hitting the next one and then it just kept piling up and it was just way too much. To make things more harder, they were trying to make sure that you were under 45 hours, trying to complete all of that. And I was like, there's no way I can do this in 45 hours. Like, this is ridiculous.
And you were with them for 8 years?
Yeah. With people still today, they're like, how the fuck did you survive?